Imagine waking up 5 years from today. You unlock your phone and open an old note titled My Goals. Start a business, get in shape, learn a valuable skill, become financially free. You stare at the list. Then reality hits. Almost nothing has changed. Not because you weren't intelligent, not because you lacked talent, but because your own brain quietly convinced you that tomorrow was always a better day to begin. And here's the disturbing part. This isn't just motivational advice. Psychologists have been studying this exact problem for decades. In the 1990s, psychologist Gabrielle Oettingen conducted a surprisingly simple experiment with women enrolled in a weight loss program. She asked them to vividly imagine reaching their goal, feeling confident, receiving compliments, and living in their ideal body. Sounds motivating, right? It wasn't. The women who fantasized the most ended up losing significantly less weight than those who didn't. One simple experiment uncovered a mental trap that affects entrepreneurs, students, artists, athletes, almost anyone chasing a dream. And once you see these traps, you'll start noticing them everywhere, including in yourself. Trap number 1, your brain rewards the fantasy. Here's what Oettingen discovered over the next 2 decades. The brain doesn't completely separate a vivid fantasy from real progress. In one study, participants imagined achieving their biggest goal for just a few minutes. Researchers then measured their blood pressure. It actually dropped. Their bodies relaxed. Think about that. Nothing had changed in reality, yet their brains behaved as if they had already moved closer to success. That's dangerous.
Because your brain isn't asking, did we achieve the goal? It's asking, do we already feel rewarded? And fantasies provide that reward. The same thing happens when you constantly talk about your goals. In 2009, psychologist Peter Gollwitzer found that people whose goals were publicly acknowledged often worked less toward achieving them afterward. Why? Because recognition created what he called a premature sense of completeness. The brain loves checking boxes. Sometimes it checks them before you've earned them. Dreaming feels productive. Talking feels productive. Planning feels productive. Only action changes your life. Trap number 2, perfection is fear wearing expensive clothes. Have you ever told yourself, I'll start once everything is ready? It sounds responsible, but most of the time it's fear disguised as preparation. Psychologists Edward Jones and Stephen Berglas uncovered this in a famous experiment. Participants were told they had performed brilliantly on a difficult test. Before taking another test, they could choose between 2 pills. One supposedly improved performance, the other supposedly reduced it. Strangely, many participants who secretly doubted their own ability chose the pill that would make them perform worse. Why? Because if they failed, they could blame the pill instead of themselves. Psychologists call this self-handicapping, and we do it all the time. I don't have the right camera. I'll start after one more course. I'm waiting for the perfect time. Every excuse protects your ego today while quietly stealing your future tomorrow. Trap number 3, the tomorrow illusion. Almost everyone has a magical date. Next Monday, next month, January 1st, after life becomes less busy. But here's what behavioral economists discovered. Humans suffer from something called hyperbolic discounting. Our brains naturally value immediate comfort more than future rewards. That's why scrolling social media for 20 minutes feels easier than reading 10 pages of a book. That's why one more episode always wins over one more workout. Your brain isn't making a logical decision. It's making an emotional one. And tomorrow always looks easier because tomorrow doesn't exist yet. When tomorrow finally arrives, it simply becomes another today, and your brain repeats the same bargain all over again. Successful people don't have more time. They simply stop negotiating with tomorrow. Trap number 4, too many choices can keep you frozen. Imagine standing in front of a supermarket shelf with 300 different cereals. Sounds great, until you actually have to choose. Psychologist Barry Schwartz called this the paradox of choice. More options don't always create freedom. Sometimes they create paralysis. Another famous experiment by Sheena Iyengar and Mark Lepper found something surprising. When shoppers saw 24 flavors of jam, many stopped to look, but very few actually bought one. When only 6 flavors were available, far more people made a purchase. The same thing happens with your goals. Should you start YouTube? Or learn coding? Or launch a business? Or write a book?
The more possibilities your brain keeps open, the less likely you are to commit to any of them. You don't need the perfect choice. You need a choice. Movement creates clarity. Waiting creates confusion. Trap number 5, your identity is quietly running your life. In 1968, psychologists Robert Rosenthal and Lenore Jacobson conducted an extraordinary experiment. Teachers were told that certain randomly selected students were about to experience a huge intellectual leap. The students weren't actually different, but over time, they performed better anyway. Why?
Because expectations quietly changed behavior. This became known as the Pygmalion effect. Now imagine the expectations you carry about yourself. If someone else's beliefs can influence your future, imagine what your own beliefs are doing every single day. If your inner voice constantly says, I'm lazy, I'm inconsistent, I'm not disciplined, your brain starts collecting evidence to prove those statements true. Skip one workout? See, that's who I am. Miss one deadline? I knew I couldn't stay consistent. Your identity becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Change the sentence and you begin changing the behavior. Don't say, I want to become disciplined. Say, I'm becoming someone who finishes what they start. Because identity isn't built in one dramatic moment. It's built one repeated action at a time.
Trap number 6, falling in love with potential. This may be the most dangerous trap of all. People don't just become addicted to success, they become addicted to potential. Potential is exciting. Reality is repetitive. Reality is practicing when nobody is watching, making mistakes, getting rejected, and trying again. Oettingen's research made an important distinction. Expectations based on real progress can motivate action, but fantasies without action simply make you feel successful without becoming successful. Potential feels magical. Progress feels ordinary. Yet every extraordinary life is built from thousands of ordinary days. That's the part social media rarely shows you. Final message. Take one last look at the life you've been imagining. Now ask yourself something uncomfortable. How many hours have you spent dreaming about it compared to actually building it? The difference between the people who succeed and the people who keep starting over usually isn't talent. It's not intelligence. It's not luck. It's their willingness to act before they feel ready. Because action creates confidence. Action creates discipline. Action creates momentum, not the other way around. 5 years from now, you'll open your notes again. You'll read the same goals, and you'll realize one of two things. Either they remained beautiful dreams, or they became the story of the day you finally stopped waiting.
Every successful person you admire once felt afraid. They doubted themselves. They made mistakes. The difference is that they refused to let fear make their decisions. They understood something most people never do. You don't need confidence to begin. You need to begin to build confidence. So don't wait for motivation. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Don't wait until fear disappears. Start before you're ready. Because the life you've been dreaming about is hidden behind the work you've been avoiding. Every small action you take today is a vote for the person you'll become tomorrow. You don't change your future in one dramatic moment. You change it every time you choose action over excuses, progress over perfection, and discipline over comfort. 5 years from now, you'll either smile because you finally took the first step, or you'll still be staring at the same list of dreams, wondering where the time went. The question isn't whether you have big dreams. The question is, what will you do today that your future self will thank you for?